Yo, good morning, good morning. Let me just turn off the Spotify. But as you can tell, we have sound, we have a different scene for draft and for the game. It's getting better. There will still be shit going wrong in this stream, I have no doubt, but progress, not perfection. That's what we're after. So we'll just get straight into the first game, which was Vitality Rogue. We talked before yesterday about Vitality building this like philosophy among their whole team, and that also comes into their draft, which like makes things not easier but simpler and more streamlined, which I really like. So I love this idea of going for something like Anila, not something that I've seen before in this this season, but for AD carry bans, because of course Kazi is very strong and a big point for Vitality. So Skarner, not even going to keep talking about it. Fuck this champion. Fuck that we have to just permaban it every game, but it will still stay the same until they change it. Then it's Kalista and Ezreal. Okay, Ezreal's been like rising up priority because it's just safer. So Varus, Ashe, Corki were all higher prio at the beginning of this set of patches, and even though they haven't been changed, it's kind of the priority has changed, even though the numbers actually haven't changed on any of the champions. Victor first pick, even post nerf. I think that's an LEC thing because you didn't see it first pick pre-nerf in other regions. Varus, like we said, it could be that if you're taking the Varus, you're happy with them taking Corki here, maybe. But you also have the opportunity to force them on a ban, because as we said before, like as soon as you have this AD carry jungle, the question is, do we have to match or can we secure other power picks? So one of them, we said we had to match. AD carry, we must already be thinking about stuff like Anila, and we just say, right, we have at least 3. Because Xayah is very good into Vi, Cork is just very strong. So they must say like, right, we have 3, therefore we can drop AD carry. So we reply with the jungle because we probably didn't have 3 junglers we wanted. We secure a power pick top because we can drop bot. And then the same question happens again. Like, do you answer top here or do you secure something else and you just leave the Victor? So then for 5, you get the Ori ban to go with the Vi combo, and you also get Nautilus ban because that can be blinded on 4, or it's just something you're already interested in the comp. Hey, yeah, I'm having a good day so far. Bit tired in the morning, but stream is always should be a good way to wake up. Hope you guys are having a good day as well. And then Galio on 5 R5, good against dive comps, as we've seen, as we've proven. Freddie was frustrated with Z yesterday. I fear he will mutiny and refuse to practice it. That's okay. I think with 2 days left, we can be specific about the champions we play. We don't need to have Azir. He's got actually a massive champion pool. It's just missing some that other people play, but I don't mind that. Like we have, I don't necessarily want to list them all here, but we have shown that we have a very deep champion pool, and there's more that we keep suggesting, just not as blinds. So the good thing about Azir is you can always just take it as a blind, and that allows us to counter top or counter support or something like that. Anyway, this game, Galio into Victor, stops the engage from this set of divers. As with Vitality, almost always they're going to want to go forward. Varus first pick better. At this stage, there's not that many ADs banned, so it's just 2 because they didn't ban any on blue. So you can go Varus first pick, but you are quite vulnerable to getting dove on yourself. If they go like Corki Vi or something, it can be a bit vulnerable. Victor first pick is not something that we see often in other regions, but for example, like Larson, the champs that are really good into Victor are not necessarily champs that Larson is comfortable on, like Silas or Akali and things like that. That puts Victor in higher priority. LEC teams are just worse as well than LPL or LCK teams, which also puts Victor in higher priority. All these like scaling mages are better if people can't close games and stuff like that. And that's just the unfortunate truth of the region. So yeah, I think the Victor first pick is okay, especially if you are thinking this. It could be this whole thing has already been talked about, you know? Right, we're going to let them have Varus. It's a very high prior pick. If we don't take it, they'll probably take it, and then we're going to play Neela into it later on. You can probably get that on 4-5 and just be pretty sure of it. I think Larson is actually pretty comfortable on Silas. Yeah, I think he might be comfortable in the champ, but when you come to those crucial moments like we were looking at yesterday, like he needs to be on flanks and he needs to be taking more agency himself and saying like, I'm flanking here, like we fight in this specific area and all those kind of things, which is a little bit more difficult. Okay, so now you can hear it, right?
Buy so much time. Oh, we got the Galio buy. Really cool. Both team comps actually.
And I think this is the thing, is Rogue are showing something we've seen in the hands of many teams at this point, right? A lot of engage options, this dive combination with the MS.
Morning, yes, I fixed the sound. What I was doing, if anyone really struggles with sound again and all the settings look right, is because I'd muted OBS in the volume mixer. Because I thought when, yeah, now it's flawless streams. Now there'll be nothing scuffed. I'm just waiting for the next problem. But basically, so I'd muted OBS because I thought it might be the thing giving me those alerts, which it wasn't. And so I muted it. And so even though I'm hearing something, it doesn't play through the OBS properly. So you guys don't hear it. So now we've got sound, which is good. I'm still going to do the same thing. I don't know what you guys think about that. I'm going to do it at ×2 and then pause and jump back. I think if I do it at ×1 and pause and jump back, it's a bit, it takes a bit too long. And we can go back through any of the stuff that you guys ask about or you find interesting or anything like that. So we'll see the lane swaps again. First question is always lane swap. Nilla, I'm expecting level 1. You really want a lane swap because Rel can't help you, can't carry you through the lane. So here what they do is they just do it late and it's going to cost cooldown. I mean, it's going to cost TP. But because Nako just finds Adam with his face, then you swap. It's better for top lane, it's better for bot lane. So I think Rogue play this a little bit silly. I think when you come into this game, that they watch the early invade to see about wards. But it seems like this watching the early invade is because they know that Vitality want a lane swap, and yet Adam just shows himself. Yeah, maybe, honestly. Yuumi just got buffed. Maybe Yuumi. But like him walking here, I don't think gains him very much, and it costs them quite a lot. So they call the lane swap late in case they've been seen. And they were calling it anyway, but Adam does confirm that there's a lane swap. So, and again, we'll see what they go for. There's these two options. You either go straight to the tower and you try and get to level 2 just from the wave crashing in, and you're hopefully safe enough by the time the dive comes, or you try and play like with the jungler, you try and get level 2 from mid, which puts your mid behind, and then you TP down. Puts your mid behind, but it's good for you. So Ambessa will need to be safer, but both of them here, because of the late swap, both of them are just doing that same, like the standard answer, which is just sit under tower and hope I don't die on the dive. But Linces is not rushing the invade, so even though we've got the lane swap, we might just see normal jungling. Because there's no way Malran can invade here. And so we're just going to be like camps, we'll just actually do normal thing. In which case this is like the most standard of lane swaps, in that, not actually the most standard necessarily, but the most calm of lane swaps. And now they swap and go back to bot because, as we said, they're not trying to lane swap to play till 20 minutes. They're trying to get level 3 because now you've got a lot more all-in threat. And so level 1, you were just going to get poked out. But by level 3, you can actually start to fight them. It's like if you're a mid laner, right, and you're playing a Kali. If you could start the lane at level 3, like an ARAM, and have all your spells, you would much prefer that. Because level 1, people just walk up at you and auto you, and you have to just give so much. But then this is a really big mistake from Midi. So yes, they have the back advantage, and they have a longsword. But now he just loses all his HP, so they're not threatening all in anymore. And he doesn't even keep the freeze. I mean, he stalls it a bit, maybe. Maybe you could say that. He can just run some pots,
Yeah, and you don't have Halo Blades, right?
but still,
It's obviously nice for the poke, but means extended
straight. Not a great trade, I think, for
why Halo Blades wouldn't feel
keeping one CS alive. I think, and you lose all your HP.
So the rail pairing isn't actually the best for Neo's kit in the sense that
Oh, he's got enough pots.
really much. But what's nice about the rail Neo combo is that once you
And now they can threaten much more. So this is actually a really good lane state as well. They've got to bot lane with a longsword, and they're the ones who are like, if we can all in you, it's great. So now they can just run forward and all in because they're stronger. So it's a really good lane swap so far for Vitality, even though they're behind in gold. Because the gold is very close. It's going to crash now.
This is the true vision. Yeah, you don't understand. Carsey's here to support.
Top, okay, it's behind, but
I actually kind of like this. Like,
you got through the early lane phase on Nilla. This is why we don't see Nilla very much, because those early levels are often just really, really hard.
somebody else with the halfway measure, you know, it doesn't
So here it's like they've got through the really hard bit. And so it's weird. You judge the game and say, right, Rogue have Dragon. The Dragon is good, of course, which is going to be based on the timing of the swap.
no one's getting any pieces, right? And this
But
took a solo play.
they're going to probably lose grubs for it, even though it's not going to be direct. It's not going to be like we're taking it while they're taking it. But the reason I'm saying they're probably going to lose grubs is because this swap is already coming through Vitality, which means they'll push this wave, they'll push this wave. And then at that moment, then they can do the grubs.
Double down, gamble. Overtime to whatever that was that we discussed, but instead it's an extra rate.
So Execute is coming. We'll see if they fight this. Patrick resets. The TP is back. So they're on the grubs first, and they're going to have bot crash, but they lose mid crash. And this is what we talked about before, right? So the grubs or anything that's in this place, so not Atcan, mid crash and side crash basically get pretty much the same time. So mid at this stage doesn't even crash first, or does, but only slightly. So at this stage of the game, either one works. And so you've got one lane we've got pushed and one lane we're being pushed. And so you actually can't start this. You don't have the tempo to start this, which is why he gets pushed off. So what I would prefer to see is going through mid here with Hilly,
But instead it's an extra rate. No one's getting any pieces, right? And this is
because we need this mid to be pushed before we can start fighting around this. So on this wave that's coming into mid lane now.
are really interacting with each other. It's going to be
Okay, it's not even going through mid. It's Sayak moves as well.
fantastic from Rogue though. Versus mid late.
So we're all just like, I think, a little bit disconnected, because this is the important wave for actually taking the grubs. We've got a push in top, which they're going to have to catch. But because we just walk here and let a melee mid laner walk up to mid lane and push the wave, then the tempo gets equalized out. I don't know why he's moving all the way to top.
It's going to be probably
I think maybe they're when they don't see... No, they do see Vi. I don't know. Maybe he's scared of Vi, but I think Kazi's also like, he's level 5 versus level 5 Adam. Like, he doesn't need help pushing this. He'll have a big stack wave. And because of that, they don't get tempo over the area. You can kind of add it in, right? We've got a time advantage in top lane if we're Vitality. Enemy has a time advantage in mid, but it equals out.
but Rogue, despite the initial push, Rogue still able to get at least one
So Rogue are going to get the one grub as well.
for getting objectives.
And now Vitality are okay just like fucking with them and slowing them down. Because you're actually playing for tempo on the other side of the map, because Natanako still hasn't TP'd in here. And so the longer that they spend all around here, the better. And so if you just slow them down, this is where like you could start it and run away, you know, if the enemy wasn't already on it. All those kind of tricks, which do often get people caught, not gonna lie. But when people get caught and say like, oh, it's worth, it's because of these kind of things. But they drop all three for this bot set of plates. Ah. So Hillesang, I think, is trying to come around here and stop the TP. If he stops the TP from Adam, it's really good when he comes up this way. He sees that Adam's going to try and TP, and he's super aggro, so he just flashes forward into their base to do it. And now they've ended up going super deep, but... We're super deep, but like Rogue are quite disorganized, right? Like Adam's TPing away. I think Galio starts channeling ult right here. And so it's 3v3, really. So 3v3, but they got a really good starting engage. So like, why they say they're really deep, but like Sayak just needs to stay there and follow him and stop his ult, and then that's it. And that's the advantage of all being on the same page. Rogue are disjointed. One of them's TPing bot. Marang's running back to red while two people are chasing after Hilly because they're like, oh, he's inting, he flashes. Like, he's not, because all his team's on the same page. And this is the thing, right, where maybe in previous Vitality lineups, or previous Hylissang lineups, Hylissang goes forward there and he's by himself and then he dies and everyone's like, why did he flash forward? He's inting. Well, he flashed to stop Adam. If he finds Adam there, it's insanely good. They get like at least another plate, if not more, and deny another wave. It's like 100, 200. No, wait. So more than that for the plate already. Like a 200 plus gold swing. Almost like enough as the kill doesn't matter. Like it equals itself out and it's extra XP as well. But because he doesn't find him, if the rest of his team didn't come, it would look like an int, but they do, so it's not. And you pick up the kills as well.
No, I mean, it's not even that. It's like, it's a deeper spiritual question, so whether or not you believe in it. You know, a lot of people ponder
But hopefully with that, you can see why people, especially people who have a high opinion of Hylissang, often you find these situations where it feels like you're just making excuses, is because it really does have a massive impact as to what, you know, the casters would say he's inting, rather than it's a good play. Yeah, we need to go with Hilly because he sees the game just very differently. I mean, I think he actually sees the game very similarly to Eric, maybe even more extreme. And so, yeah, getting the follow there is really important. So it is the 3 grubs and the dragon, but they traded it for some gold, so the gold is back to even. And now these mid games is where like Nila can start to get really strong when she gets collector and she's got a level lead and stuff like that. Hey Kasuma, I'm good. How are you? Trying to get used to doing like streams properly. We've got sound now, so we're getting better. This is also really nice. I think you can do this fairly reliably, where you either recon W most of the time. You can, if it interrupts you, it can get really annoying because it takes the cooldown still, obviously. But in general, you should be able to do that most of the time. So that's another reason why the pick is good. Now we've got a lead in bot lane, despite the fact that it's Poke, Varus, and Rakan versus Rel, Nila, which is good. So these second grubs are going to be really important. They want to prioritize it. The other thing you can do, we talked before with the team, right, where you have this idea of tempo, and it allows you to move around the map, but it more allows you to move around the map for free. So you can just ignore it, and then you move anyway, and you lose stuff. So Sayak here just ignores the fact that he needs to push this wave. He ignores the tempo, and he is there, but they're just going to lose a mid wave and play for Dragon. And so this is kind of all because of those first grubs. So as we talked about before, you know, the second grubs can threaten more often, you know, so we have to deny them so they don't get 6. As you guys pointed out yesterday. So because of this, we just say, right, we lose that wave in mid, then we're going to swap our lane assignments, continue the swap, which is often very good. You then trade the next grubs for the dragon, but this is still, I think, Vitality is still in a decent spot. 2 dragons are starting to get a bit annoying, but they have a really good comp to be grouped anyway, so it's not that much of a worry. The biggest thing, obviously, these stats do help, but they're hard to see. The biggest thing is that it threatens the soul, and the soul threaten is much less. If you swap them around and Vitality have 2 dragons, then I think it's starting to get scary for Rogue, because it's like, okay, we're going to have to group. But I guess they're both fine to group, actually. It would just depend on how the fight shakes out. It depends on the positioning, and it depends on flashes for sure, and how safe Varus is, because with Varus flash down, he's so vulnerable to all this. Are you also checking what the other teams are playing in your league so you can think of a counter draft? Yes, we have a person who's specifically doing that. We obviously have Thomas who's specifically doing the draft, but we also have Kiao who's doing the scouting. So we have both of those things covered by people who aren't me, which is perfect. So I can focus just on the game. And this is exactly what I just said, okay? Varus's flash is down, so Vitality play differently because the flash is down. And we talked before about teams not really doing anything in LEC between objectives, and this is one of the ways around that. This is one of the other things that you can kind of easily, that's a terrible way to say it because it's not easily, but clearly conceptualize a new thing to do, which is we play differently when this is down. This is like an objective for us. And if mid was a mage, then it would be the same for mid. But this is down, so we play differently, and we play with much more space and much more aggressively wherever the Varus is. So Varus is in mid here. He's going far too far forward because he doesn't have flash. If he does have flash, he's fine here because they both go on him and he flashes the engage and all the engage tools are gone. So it might not be worth it as a trade, but you can at least still be there. Whereas now, he loses his cleanse as well, and he's dead. I don't think they needed to TP there. They should know he instantly dies, but that always happens. Like the fact that he's ready, it's like showing you're willing, you know? So it's like, yeah, I was in on that play too. I was up for it. Hey, Zaggy. Sorry if I get everyone's names wrong, by the way. I'm still getting used to that, and I've got everyone. I've got the chats maybe a bit too small to read your names properly, which is why I also like squinting at the camera. But I really appreciate everyone watching. It's a lot of fun, and I'm hoping, as I said, hoping to get better each stream. So as we saw, mid lane dies. I wanted to see what happened in bot. Does anyone know if you can have a shared chat of YouTube and Twitch in one that other people can see? I think probably not, but okay. Nako just quite far forward while we're making a play on mid, but here like he's just taking a lot of their time, and you play aggressively on the other side and you just say fine, like I buy time, I mess with them. Like even if he dies here, this is probably still worth it because we're getting a lot in mid. Oh, you can? Okay, I'll look at it for tomorrow. Again, each stream will get better somehow. Progress, not perfection. So we got a bunch of damage down in mid lane. That's a really good point from Jack. Wukong being fed is absolute misery for Rogue. And now they cover the dive, and they cover it two ways. They cover it with the potential... oh, they don't have TP. So they cover it with Wukong coming. I thought it was TP was matched. But it's just hard to dive, and Lintus is there on time. So this again, these kind of plays, you look at it and it's like, okay, well, Vitality didn't really get anything from this. But the big thing is that Rogue used time to do that, and they used resources as well. So in that time, you could have done anything else, and instead they got a plate that Adam was getting solo. So it's a really good counter, and Vitality, Vi now is low as well. Yeah, this is, I think, a really good game from Vitality so far. I'm sure there's small things that they'll have found that they want to do differently and better, but... Yeah. So like all of this control comes from the fact that they made that play, because now Marang had to base. Now they're going to play on the next wave in mid. Drake up in 130, so you know, in a real simple way of thinking about it, or I guess the old school way, before we started playing faster and faster and faster, it used to be like, okay, a minute before Dragon, you need to have already reset. So 130, you reset if you need it. 1 minute, you play push, then you go back and you clear the vision, then you push the next wave, then you go and start the objective. But nowadays, people realize that if you just play faster than that, you can disrupt that completely. So it's not quite so clear cut as it used to be, like in season 5, 6. It used to be like super, super slow, one by one by one, and you never kind of rush things, you never skipped objective steps. So now they're more like playing on both at the same time. Minions are desync now from 14 minutes, so mid does crash first. But you're always going to have this problem if you can't threaten all in, and Varus flashes back up. If you can't threaten all in, it's hard to get that push in mid lane, just because Kazi has to step up to the wave, and Patrick can hit it from range. So wave dies in mid across both sides. Patrick now goes for the reset, because he wanted the item, and also because the item gets him back to base from base faster. Is Freddy getting a clap on the hands because he doesn't want to practice his ear? No, not at all. As we said, the advantage of Azir for us is not necessarily that it's actually just a super strong pick. The advantage of Azir, and the reason you see it so often in competitive, is because it's like a really safe blind. So the disadvantage of us not playing Azir in competitive, which actually, to be honest, we still could, I think he's still getting much better at it, is just the safe blind, and we have other blinds, so... I want to get more opportunities for Freddy to play the stuff that he plays that no one else plays, as opposed to the other way around. But the downside is that Eric also absolutely stomps when he gets counters. So it's very hard not to let him just counter. Okay, so Kazi threatens a lot on mid lane, which is the only way he can get pushed. Like, he has to threaten the all-in, but with double sums, it's hard. So even then, we get a little bit more of a chunk again, and they start Dragon. So this TP is what gets them the Dragon. They TP to bot lane, and Larson doesn't have TP. So it's going to be the Dragon. They're in a good spot. They get the first choice of where they go, and then Marong basically goes to the other way. I mean, it's a nice try. Does he miss the W? Surely not. I really thought this was actually going to turn things around with Larson being low mana as well. Oh, this is because this Q misses. I remember Freddy was scared he has to perform well on first time Heimer in scrims, or you don't let him play it again. No, not at all. If he doesn't perform well on a pick like Heimer in scrims, like, we'll still do it again. He was able to explain what he needed from the pick, and he was able to explain how it's strong. So yeah, he did stomp the first game, but even if he didn't, it would probably be based on stuff that I knew we could change. And he was getting absolutely hard camped in that first time again, I think. I don't know if that flash Q missed, but I don't think... really thought that was going to turn around. So it is going to be the trade. And you see this happening like separately. You see this happening at a different point. And so people say... Oh, I got my hand in the wrong place. I was like, why is my pen not coming out? So you say, okay, like they're taking this, and people took Dragon for free, or objective was for the kill. It's like, it still just flows into the next thing. This is when games are even. When games are really far ahead, you have one team who can have like multiple plays back to back to back. Whereas in more even games, it will probably go in this kind of turn-based thing. But thinking about it in terms of terms is not actually that productive. It's too simplified for me, I think. Okay. It's just the absolute swag juke. This is the same thing, right? So as he's going up to clear the way, if he takes a load of poke. I mean, that wasn't actually very close, but still. Okay, so Victor gets the tower. Lintus gets the gank. He's not going to get killed though. Forces him away. This, I think, is a little silly because you use Wukong ult and Wukong is bot lane. Victor can't fight, so you see Vi, but you should know, like, I don't know if anyone remembers from a long, long time ago, DP, the dude potential. I think they talked about maybe in like the Garen champion spotlight or something like that. Or maybe it was Garen who was the person in the bush in their example. The DP here is high. There's up to 4, as far as Vitality know, there can be 4 people here. So you want to go for the really quick play, I guess, but you're just going to lose tower and death for it. Don't think champs matter a lot outside of the high competitive level. Even if Azir is good, there are other champs that do the same. I mean, they matter like at all levels. But you could say the same about Carrier, you know? Like, he needs to play in Worlds, he needs to play whatever melee support that everyone else plays because it's the highest level. And actually, no, he doesn't. Instead, the team needs to play around the fact that he plays ranged. And 2 Worlds in a row, they made the same mistake of trying to play like everyone else for a while, and then they gave it up and they won. So for me, I think you just need to think about what's the most effective tactic available. And in a lot of teams, for a lot of situations, having a really safe blind that can be a bit varied and has high damage output and is a good side laner, like Azir is just good at everything, or like 6 out of 10 at everything, which makes him a 9 out of 10 champ in general. And maybe maybe that's the best thing for you to pick. But then there's also a lot of other champs that you can play and get a lot more value from it. So like, you can let them play melee mid laner and play Heimer into it.
But towers, do we really care? It's about the pieces, right? It's about 5 extra armor and move speed.
I think this is the first time I've seen 12 CS per minute Galio.
That's a really good call out. I don't think anyone really thinks
So that also that sequence from Vitality cost them both the towers of like trying to play on bot lane with the Wukong ult and the Wukong, and also trying to play on mid as well. And that one global that they didn't like factor in, and it brings the game back to even. And this is the flip side of Vitality, is that they're still learning, and I think they're getting better and better each week, which is great. You know, even when they had the other people in the lineup, but these guys, I think, much more on the same page. But they get better and better, and they will be better in the later sides of this bit. This is a mistake that we make a lot as well. We come forward because we think we're covered, but this is a nice attempt from Marang. I don't know how it's going to end out. So they do have someone marking, like covering here and shadowing for him, which is nice, because I think it might become a big deal. And then as soon as they both show, there's also the potential of a fight in mid too. So they do get flash. I'm not sure if he would have been one shot. If he gets the W down there, I think you can also play on the 2v2, but maybe you just get one shot. But Lintus is so strong in that situation. So bot lane push is more important than it otherwise would be, because Atakan. Freddy is very proficient on Shaco mid. I actually think, by the way, Shaco has a place in competitive play. Not in mid, probably. But I think whenever I've seen Shaco in competitive, it's always been AD Shaco. And I think AP Shaco, there might be a way to make it work. And you play the boxes like saplings for old AP Maokai and stuff like that, where if you're on objective first, the enemy can't fight you on it. But that's a separate point. Okay, so because of the flash away as well, Sayak has to reset. Doesn't really have to, but he probably has something to buy. And that gives Rogue the dragon, because Kazi and Hylissang also came across. Yeah, we saw some Shaco jungle in a couple of VRLs too. But it was AD, and it was often with Orianna, so you do the invisible Orianna ult, which is cool. I mean, this is weird. Execute ults. And then two people just walk into him. And it still works. Okay. Okay, fine. I thought they would just get one shot. I still think you could just wait half a second. Maybe execute gets away. But I was still thinking you just wait a second, and then Rakan ults down, and then you fight. But maybe he just W's away. And again, he's just stalling and buying time. Like, they're getting Atakan. I mean, that Naka, I think, is a really good player, by the way. Okay, look, I thought they were just going to get one shot. The ult channels. I still think this shouldn't be. Okay, so Ambessa's not in range, but if Ambessa's closer, like Kazi just gets if Kazi gets Ambessa ulted here as well, which is, let's be honest, fairly close, because she can ult from like here, and she's just a little bit further back. I do think you just get one shot, but in this situation, you prove me wrong. Yeah, and then they get Atakan.
Okay, so for anyone who's not keeping up with playoff stakes, I know there's 8 teams that make it, but just catch everybody up. If Rogue lose today, so every team with 5 wins, if it makes the 5 wins the rest of the season, will qualify for playoffs. It doesn't affect either of these.
Yeah, but when the initial engage doesn't kill Kazi, that's the part where it just gets really hard to like keep playing, and you have to reset and all this kind of thing. Like, it's really hard, I think. If that kills Kazi, then the whole thing's different.
This win is huge for Vitality. This win is huge for every other team and certainly huge for Vitality. Our top 4
Okay, we force the Rakan out and Varasol with our Relot, but all fights are good. We talked about this, how to use Atakan as well already. So I hope they play for the tower rather than, okay, rather than the Baron. Because, like I said before, okay, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm completely coping or something, but as far as I can tell, the only place in the entire map where Atakan buff, GA buff is not useful is when Baron is like low. Because then dying and rezzing in your base is just as bad as dying in general. So maybe that's ridiculous, but I would much rather just play super aggro for towers and stuff like that and go for dives. And now we'll see what actually happens. Because it can still work. Okay, so nothing would be different if they didn't have these GAs so far. And because they got Baron and then fight, it's going to be good. You know, so like this happened and was good. That doesn't mean it's a good thing to do necessarily. Like, oh wait, the Atakan ran off anyway. Yeah, so Atakan ran off anyway. So they start it and it don't even have it. So this was just a good play. This doesn't need Atakan. And that's the thing that I like about Atakan, is it's going to gradually show teams that they can actually do way more than they think. And the fact that Victor already had the upgraded ult as well there is like really good. So how crazy is this, by the way? Like, if you didn't have the Atakan buff, no one would go for this play. But actually, the Atakan buff falls off before it matters, and the play works. Do you lose Nash buff when you get Atakan revived? No, you don't. You don't die, so you keep all the things. So yeah, this works without Atakan. You could just do the exact same play without Atakan, and it would work. I mean, maybe Rogue go a bit more aggressive a little bit earlier, but I don't think so, because you don't... It's not worth letting Baron die so the Atakan buff wears out, because if you got 3 kills before the buff is taken, you can also still take the buff yourself, you know, so... So now Vitality are in a really good spot. They're going to secure the dragon. You don't get a chance to mess up, obviously, because you're soul point, so you always have that thing of like, okay, we need to be aware of it all the time. But Victor is just ridiculously strong. They've got the upgraded boots. I mean, Nako also is very strong in this game, despite the fact that items like equal CS and stuff. So they're going to ignore the top wave and just play mid and bot because they got Baron. So they know that people are going to have to like respond to them because they'll push faster. And the other thing, I'm assuming you can hear Jack, as Jack is saying here, problem with Neela is that she can't be hitting towers really, so doing these like cross maps is much better than just sitting in a lane and sieging, where you're saying, okay, we go 2 this way and you go the other side. So if they ran in for towers with Atakan and then got Baron, they'd still have a tier 3 tower now. Oh, they'd have a tier 3 tower. I mean, I don't know. Like, if it's wearing off as well, the thing that's interesting to me is that play works. It's got nothing to do with Atakan as far as I'm concerned. But maybe, like I say, I'm very open to reading it wrong. It's a very new objective. But the fact that a lot of teams just take it and then are like, now it's time for Baron, seems a bit silly to me. Watch later in scrims, we do the exact same thing. If we do, we'll have a conversation about it. So they use all their tools, and then now it's I mean, almost, by the way, that was almost max size Victor ult. If Victor ult lasted 1 more second and they get the kill on buy, then it grows again and extends again, and they kill Galio, and it'll be see like the massive one, which is always fun. So they push on the other 2 lanes now. You can do this in your own games. They went mid bot, let this push back this way, then they reset, go mid top, same as we talked about before. You crash the mid one first, you fog in between the two so that they can't clear both waves for free, basically. Execute going for a flank because they need something like that. They need like some big flank. If they one-shot Sayek, maybe they win, but he's got Zhonya's. And Rabadon's. Jesus. He's strong. So 2 flanks on the side, and Hilly just marking the flanker. Naknako marking the Ambessa. They're going to just play super aggro for this mid tower, I guess. Or they've got the dragon coming up in 30. Okay, he just goes too far though. Now this is a problem, right? Because you are going to have 4v5 for the Dragon Soul. And he just goes a little bit, they're just a bit too disjointed because 2 people are chasing Hilesang. Sorry, execute on this side. And now he just gets 1v3'd. And at this stage, he just needs to move away. Like if he W's away here, I think this is really good. But he W's forward, and so he's going to die. And Vitality still have to fight for it really aggressively, and they still can win if Patrick fucks up. And Patrick, you can tell he even knows, right? He knows that that's wrong. He knows that he's in danger, not that it's wrong. Yeah, the thinking process is probably Atakan plus Nash is OP. And it is true, if you have both, it's really OP because you can force fast and dive. They're also probably thinking is around Baron, there's often fights, and therefore having the res is good. But I think you saw it in the Rogue versus GX game, where they just get one shot around Baron. No one uses flashes on the rel engage because it's like, well, I've got Atakan, and it's often not good to use flash when on your Atakan GA. But then they all die, and so they lose Baron. They still lose it. Here, this is really good for the rest of them because I think you can't back off. If you give control of this area, you'll never get it back because he's going to be dead while Dragon is up. So if you lose control, you let them come in this way and then go that way and just re-ward this area, you lose soul. So Vitality's only play is to wait in a bush somewhere. And it's about, can they pick the right bush? Can they find the right person? They absolutely pick the right bush. Patrick ease it because he even knows it might be in danger, but he's not prepared for how aggressive they are, which you should be against Vitality. But Patrick dies. So now you can't... now they protect the soul by just getting that really nice pick. And also get themselves the dragon. And Victor's just ridiculously strong at this stage. This is why you first pick Victor. Because at this stage of the game, 32 minutes in, he's just so much damage. Now I think they're going to get the dragon, and they're going to then threaten the Baron. Don't like the fact that Atakan stays up here. Like, what does it matter if they took it? If it's that one. Actually, I guess you get 50 extra gold per kill, but it should be in a different place. Because I just saw the 4 dragons and thought, oh, they got soul, but they didn't. They have 3 dragons and Atakan in that same line, you know? There's a nice flank, and he's got no flash, so they play differently again. They don't do this if he has flash. But look, Linz just legs it round because he knows they're all going to collapse on them together. Yeah, this is why I think Vitality is super exciting as a team, because you can see what they're trying to do and you can see them get better at it game by game by game. And that's why it's really scary. The teams that just each game they do a different thing and each game they make a slightly different mistake and all those kind of things, you can be trapped at the same level. But this way you can
and I think, I don't know how we bottle this up and get this every game, but if we do, I'm pretty optimistic about Vitality ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're 7k up, you can do a lot of things. Okay, I'm going to quickly go to the toilet and I will let you watch through this draft, and then we can talk about it after.
I wanted to see some fighting and aggression, and 113, his game plan against this Vi is going to be punish it early game, look to invade, look to get a camp lead, look to impact everyone on the map, and try to outpace this Vi and generate a lead that way. And it's going to be Kalista answer from Fnatic, so they're kind of answering fire with fire here, because they now want to contest through bot lane with Kalista fighting and allowing Italy to make her plays that way.
And I like the philosophy of matching fire with fire. Fnatic, obviously, one of our strongest early game teams. I think probably
Probably the strongest, yeah.
strongest early game team overall thus far from what we've seen. So backing up that playstyle choice with some strong early game picks, Rel, Kalista, Vi, great tools to force these fights if 113 does it in this position. But you've got ICE on something comfortable like the bars. The question really is, what can you get out of Italy? Italy, a champion that historically has really good games.
Now I'm wondering, what does BDS answer here? So they could go for either Braum, like, no, well, for support pick, it could go in two different directions. They could go for something like a lane counter, like Braum, but it's very weak when they lead to one engage, or they could go for something that's a game counter, like Alistar, that's a very weak level 1. I really want to see Nautilus, because that's a decent champ into Rel, the game, and it synergizes greatly with Italy, and then Spear.
It's kind of like the
Okay,
combo.
right.
Yes, long range. Looking at the battleship, the old Italy Nautilus combo.
But it's cool. Sorry, I kind of cut you off there, but it's cool to see that it's kind of running with this early game.
Speaking fast. Yeah, I've got it all on times 2. So that's why they're speaking fast.
We need to have a strong early game.
One thing, it's important to note, while there are 3 champions that can do well in the early game on your sides, this is BDS is do or die. Yeah, BDS have put this
Okay, so
under the knife here.
Skarner,
You get something done early game. This is not
get this champion out.
gracefully into the game.
I'd just like to have 3 bans again on red side.
Jungle top duo, Upper Neck, and Italy. Most situations,
Kasante we've seen strong. This is the Shio 1 or Shio and 113 counter to Vi.
Or if they just say, you know, we're going to go and either win 50 minutes or
Poppy as well, counter to Vi. This, for me,
go for the quirky ban, which would make sense.
this is Vi first pick.
I'd assume,
And they go Ezreal instead.
but maybe Paris will surprise me.
I don't like this Ezreal ban because I think you want Ezreal when they have Vi.
Especially since Gordon
I completely agree. Yeah.
So this is really strange to me because they've already
because, as I said earlier, it's really strong.
done 2 bans for it. Today we're scrimming East Spirit Shonen, I think, the team in LFL2. Yeah. So LFL2 team, but still good team. Then, right, you've got Renekton and Italy, old school classic combo. You really need to snowball top lane. So enemy wants to just take a safe top laner. I think they already deny Braum because Ornn was what you used to play into this. Because it doesn't matter if Ornn falls behind and he's actually quite good in the matchup. And we have Kalista. Yeah, okay. So they get Vi and Kalista Rel. Okay. Sure. Ooh. Okay, that's bold. I like it. So this can be great, the Rumble. When do you scrim NNO with Tolkien in Prime League Dig 5? No, I'm not sure. Okay, and then it's going to be Humanoid on the mid lane, so you want an AP in top. Follows up really well on all the rest of the engage. But still, this is the window. This is how they win the game. And these 2 in bot lane, like, neutralize, and then... Now you just... Fnatic have got, like, really... Not easy way to play the game, but you know what I mean? Like, you go. You group up and you go. You generate time, then you group up and go.
She's very happy. You're very sad because
Especially in Italy, who's like the premier invading high tempo jungler.
if you're gonna go like Super Saiyan crazy,
Upset always performs. I mean,
Razork can just push all.
the last years, probably not, right? He had moments, but he had also very down moments.
It's me, it's the pros, it's the build. 1-3.
He has problems, I think, when he doesn't trust his team. And it's a little bit of a cope in a weird way, I think. But he has a huge amount of potential for sure. Like when he's on form, I think he's still the best AD carry in Europe. Or at least has potential to be, you know. Okay. So here, like Mickey gets chunked just to mess around with 113, slow him down. That's how important like tempo and time is. Oh, that was almost insane from Razork. He walks round, avoids the blast, the Scryer's plant, comes down this way, but then he gets hit by a trap. Boom. Tragedy. So it's going to be Poke Varus, but with the Halo Blades, so he can also do a bit more when people actually, engage directly on you.
I'm checking on mid lane really quick. I'll say Humanoid doing surprisingly well for a match that I would expect to be a lot more difficult early on. Last time we saw this, it was a nuke. It was the Corki instead of the Jace, which I think is much stronger in those early level trades, and it was unplayable.
Yeah, I think Corki has a lot stronger early game.
And with the bot push, they're going to go for the Dragon. This is also due to the fact that they slowed down 113. but he goes too early, and it's the same thing as before. We've got push here, but they've got push there. So actually, we don't have tempo on this. The only reason is we could start it is because we have tempo on Nidalee, because we interrupted her base. But now she's actually going to be able to take golems. I think if he didn't look for the play on bot lane, he could go instantly for the dragon. Actually, it might not have even been up. But in terms of the tempo, yeah. This was the best game of the day. Okay, perfect. Looking forward to it. So this is a little bit silly. He's going to get pushed away. Yeah, it just gets first blooded. I mean, this is all from Razok trying to start Dragon when he doesn't have the time to do it. Yeah, I think Jack's point's really good. Fnatic want to play early aggression, but having Smolder doesn't really allow for that. Well, not allow for it, but like Jace coming and Smolder coming is not exactly even trade, right? And so it's a really nice play from BDS to say, right, they're going to be super aggro anyway, so we can be super aggro with better aggro champs. And even without the Renekton in the fight, it's really good for them. Fnatic get the... This is the other thing, right, is that you get the bunch of kills, you think you're up in tempo, but actually by the time people get to base, look, Vi's already running out of base. So you still have this massive tempo lead. And whoever does the play is not... it's not the team with the gold lead or anything like that. It's the team with the tempo. That's the person who gets to decide the play. So this time they do get to take one. No, I don't know Jack Spectra. I spoke to him a few times. He almost joined us at Solari. But he wanted to go to the LVP instead because I think LFL was getting a bit stacked at the time. So on the bounce back with the tempo lead, they go for the grubs, and this time they do get it. Now you're making a play. Special won't be another quiz time. I think if I almost did one for this patch, but firstly we were in boot camp, and secondly it was just such a tiny patch. So I think next patch, and for Mel, there's going to be a new patch and Mel quiz for sure. Mel, and also each time I'll put in stuff that we've been learning throughout the week. There will be a new quiz. So maybe after this week, next week there'll be a new quiz. Okay, so they push up through mid, they go to bot side. They've seen that Nidalee has tried to make this play on bot lane. Because they didn't stack the CC though, like, okay, no, he still does. It's really hard to play this. This is why the Rumble is difficult, because anytime you're not even that overextended, you know. No, it's fine. Telling me they're good is fine. Telling me exactly what happens, maybe that would be a little bit annoying, but even then I'll still watch them, because as I said, I've watched them for me. So now they're taking time to do the dragon. As we said before, they could have invaded and then gone back for dragon, but you just commit too much time for it. Now, really nice ult to stop, to hit on to get the hit on Razok, but it's actually just well played, I think, from both sides. So they get onto ice, which is good, but the Smolder ult gets blocked by a really wonky shield. Like, shield is this way. Oh, shield is this way, and yet it still blocks it. But then, nice Callisto ult, assuming time to do the tower shot. But it's just already stacked up so much. If you watch this on normal speed, one of the things that is always worth bearing in mind when you can block these tower shots, one team is going to destroy the enemy nexus. True. True. Yeah, so the Braum, I think it shouldn't block, but it does. And then if you look at the tower, minion, Mickey, but you can't time it when it's that close. And then that slow just 1 for 1. And it's the TP, but it's also the time commitment. So better, I think, for BDS on the end of this play because they get to slow people down again.
Jace is at least getting placed on mid, but Rumble is also traded back to get placed on bot. It's a really good play from Fnatic, and that Smolder ult, you can see how much damage it did. It kind of turned the tides of the dive. I think if they don't have that, actually not able to dive.
Also, again, Humanoid is this ticking time
I
bomb.
don't think that the Smolder ult... I thought the Smolder ult got blocked by the Braum, but maybe it didn't.
Some of the best support scaling in the game in terms of what you can get out of a well-positioned Unbreakable.
I mean, what BDS has that is nice against Smolder is the range, but they don't have any lockdown to speak of. So once the Smolder gets his rapid fire cannon and he starts to be a bit cocky with movement, it gets really hard to
Okay.
a significant amount of poke to actually shut him down.
Fair enough. Because I thought it wasn't facing the right way.
Very flashable, but you know, we've seen even Black the other day for Team Fnatic just having that all-star carry performance. You can do so much work if you find the right position with the champion in a fight. It's a little bit harder, admittedly, with the lethality build.
I thought it would hit both and it didn't, so that's why I assumed it was blocked. But it must have hit. Okay, so already a 2k gold lead. Yeah, and this is what you need on the Nidalee, but people act like, well, people say, oh, you're not Canyon, you shouldn't play Nidalee, and then you see a game and like the person gets fed. This is not the part where Nidalee is hard. The part where Nidalee is hard is the rest of the game. So I still will reserve my judgment as to whether we can play Nidalee in Europe or whether 113 can be our Nidalee player. Nidalee's already got 1k advantage. Fnatic get a grub. So they deny the stack, but they don't get the spawn. Let me see why I think they just flipped this, don't they? Okay, they have push in top, enemy has push in mid. They see 113 on bot, and so it just runs over to just start it. Yeah, 113 popping off.
2.3k gold lead, 1,000 of that in the hands of the Nidalee, already finishing Landry's. It's going to be a nightmare for 1v1. Side laners are going to be miserable this game as well.
This might be another grub contest there. Relevance on the flank, but this might be the long game flank.
Yeah, they just get one grub.
Really knocking style. He's just looking forward. Dominus there. Cross on the way. Ulti from the Smolder. No hope really from Humanoid to extend this, but can just snap up there at least. Meantime,
Okay, we didn't see how this fight starts, but that's really good. they're split up and they're running towards top side, and they have your really strong Renekton and your really strong Nidalee both going top. Okay, they just go too far. Yeah, Rumble Realm. Nice combo.
You can see the disjointedness in BDS there. Paris wants to go help Irrelevant. Ice kind of left on his lonesome. And it just results in when you're against a snappy, good team like this Fnatic, they punish you.
They do, right? They take this fight and then they... Oh no, they don't. I think they're just too low, right? So Nidalee and Jace, Nidalee can come back. This state, yeah, I think you can do grubs here probably. Or if you look at total health, by the way, it's actually not even all that one-sided, despite the dead people. So maybe that's what they're worried about. Worried about just extending it too much. And 113 still is up, so you can go back to get 3 for 3. Could just be a mistake as well.
In theory, it's good if you get the enemy team to fight you, but I think this is a situation where I bring up kind of what we were talking about in draft, where having that more proactive engage tool, even if it might have cost them a little bit in the lane, certainly with
Grubs are getting nerfed. Interesting.
And also, it's so scary seeing the Smolder build up a gold lead against this Jace. I feel like he's going to be a real menace in this game.
It's bad for loss of tones.
Even if it might have cost them a little bit in the lane, certainly would have paid off here in the mid game. Now they do have this lead on a champion like Nidalee.
Because they play so well with the grubs that it's going to be a shame for them when they get nerfed, I think. It's a shame for Baus's playstyle, which I think is bad for everybody, by the way. I love that that exists. And that people can actually play in a different way and play super fast and play on this like super high tempo idea. But it does work better with good grubs.
It's good if you get the enemy team to fight you, but I think this is a situation where I bring up kind of what we were talking about in draft, where having that more proactive engage tool, even if it might have cost them a little bit in the lane, certainly would have paid off here in mid game. Now they do have this lead on a champion like Nidalee.
Okay. They push up mid. They got push in mid and bot, so they just do this. It's like the most standard. Push mid, push bot, do dragon. But he just comes in. They just let him walk in. So we need to know like where they're coming, and we need to know what we're going to do to try and stop them. We have ult here. Rumble is TPing already, so maybe they're just nervous. They want to just take it and get out. We have a bunch of poke that could be landing and is not landing, and we're all just running away as if we've already got this. Really nice ult from Paris to stop the follow-up engage, by the way. Like, look at this. This is insane. Okay, I went back too far. Okay, now I went forward too far. This is pro streaming. So they want to get on Nidalee. And as soon as you're in this moment, like, how do you play this as Braum to keep your Nidalee alive? He gets knocked to the side, but then he knocks up Mickey. He knocks up Mickey first to come from this direction, so he's closer. He also hits upset. Then he jumps across this way, and now he's going to put a wall that way, I think. Yeah. Winter's Bite on Mickey and wall, that's like, that just nullifies everything as Braum. Suddenly they TP'd in and they both die. And that's just Paris smurfing.
He flash ults into the whole enemy team, and Paris plays it beautifully, abusing the Braum pick to CC the Rel, so Rel can't follow it up. It's just a bit puzzling decision making from Razork, and a really nice punish from BDS.
Again, yeah, good punish. Unfortunately, they were unable to secure the Drake, and from Fnatic, obviously in hindsight, probably should have been happy just taking the Drake and walking away.
Yeah.
But you can see that Cat has.
I think if Paris plays this any other way, this engage works. He's got no flash, but he has ult. Like, if he jumps this way and then ults this way, by the time he's jumped, Mickey stuns them and can also follow up. If he does like anything differently, I think this fire works.
Carries are so far away, and Razork plays it well to try to get out, but Paris says no, flashes after him, gets the auto, locks him up, and Irrelevant also abuses the fact that Paris hits a random Q onto Mickey to just flash W him, lock him down, to clean kills for BS.
I'm gonna say right now, that's Invested brain. He thought his top laner was playing Invested. That is true. They've been playing that composition.
To be fair, they have a Rumble vibe, which is the same thing, but I think Rumble was
Yeah, not quite in position. Yeah, covered the retreat. But certainly the Callista and the small.
Yeah, but this is what I mean. Like, because of the play from the other team, it becomes too deep.
BDS or in the EMM Masters.
But you can exactly see that thing happen. Then Mickey follows up on the engage. Then Rumble is in range to ult, and Nidalee gets one shot, doesn't have flash, and suddenly it's a great engage. So that's why, like, so much of the game, when you're evaluating, it becomes about what the other people do and all this kind of thing, and it gets a little bit more complicated. So even though they didn't have Callista ult to follow up there, I think the engage is fine. I think it's just like, it's not fine if enemy plays it perfectly, which they did. So it is too deep, but it's not as simple as just like, oh, it's too deep.
Ends up being a tower for BDS, and they secure the feet.
467 extra gold in growing for this Nidalee.
Thanks. That's the point of the reviews. So like I said, I don't have co-streaming rights, so I'm not going to watch to just be like on the side, because why would you watch me do that when you can watch anyone else do that? So the only thing that I want to do that's different is I look at it like I look at it for myself, but maybe just a little bit toned down, explaining things that I wouldn't explain if it was just for like pro players or anything like that. They get pushed mid and they're going to just super hard commit for one side, and Rumble doesn't have ult to clear the wave. So when you lose control of mid like this and they just go into one side, this is now the enemy territory. So this whole area, we should be thinking about it, if we're Fnatic, as if this is on their side of the map. So that's why you can already see Oscar's like, ah, shit, I can't get out. So what are we going to do? We either want to reclaim this area, which is going to be really hard, or we go this way and play on the other side. Now, we don't actually know that they backed away. If Fnatic, I don't think you've seen these two people back away. So the last thing they saw was everything go dark in this area and all the people go that way. So it becomes a bit of a guessing game, and it becomes a bit of a like feinting and parrying kind of idea, where now Fnatic go to the other side of the map and Oscar does get out, where he probably wouldn't have if they'd have just all gone for him, but they were covering our cross map and, you know, all those kind of things. Because I think you can just also just for sure dive him here. You can just for sure stop him getting back to base with Paris there too. But we run away as he runs forward, and so he gets out. But it's the Rumble ult. That's the strong thing, like I said. He just ults the wave, and you then can't play on that instantly. So it stalls it for the next wave that's coming around. Now they're going to be really behind on the next thing, because now Upset is already ready to play on the top wave. So we're already hitting this wave first, and it all just like snowballs one to the other to the other. So that's the thing about making the plays on the Rumble side, especially when in this stage of the game where he has ult and the ult one-shots the wave. You either have to just take away the camps and the Herald, or you have to be able to dive him anyway, or you definitely have to stop him from getting away from the tower. And it's just hard, and they're a little bit disjointed about what they're trying to do, so they don't do any of it. So you do trade the Herald for the play on bot side. Okay, and they're fighting top while they're doing Drake on bot lane. I think this. I think you can't be defending this. You can't be defending this side of the map while you're also playing on this side of the map. Instead, you should be looking to play super aggro here, slow them down as much as possible, and then maybe even play them through mid instead. Like, this tower is going to die. If Fnatic wants it to, this tower can die, because Nidalee will never be there, and everyone on the enemy team could be there. So, like, Renekton is now TPing away. He does get one, and the dive is quite deep. But you still lost the tower. You didn't make a play on the other side of the map. Okay, now he's just... we're both just saying the same thing, so maybe I could just shut up and listen to the cast. Because this tower is, like, undefensible in this situation. Where enemy has pushed in mid and goes towards the top side of the map, like, you can't defend this tower. So what are you going to do? You're already taking something on the other side of the map. You should just either fully commit to the other side or just play like super defensive and you just trade the tower for the dragon. But I think when you got Renekton Rumble, you play super hard on this and you just dive the Rumble. Like, Rumble's got no flash. We play on this side instead. Yeah, it's supposed to be quiet, so it's not too distracting. I can turn it up a little bit if you want.
It's important to understand that BDS. You think it's even trade trade? That felt like trade Mickey and Raspberry.
Because it's really fast.
But what I will say is trading against a team, trade even.
Do I have a favorite champion to watch? I like watching aggressive stuff. So I like watching like Bard and things like that. But I also liked watching when you play, I don't know, like Elise, Caitlyn, or before when you played even like Jhin support and stuff like that. I like that because if it's about super aggressive early fighting, moving around the map or something interesting, then I like that. My least favorite champions to watch are the champions that I've just been watching the most. So that flexes depending on who becomes the most watched. So Smolder will be soon probably back up there, but for now it's okay because it's interesting to see what people do, like crit or not. Just seeing where they go. So they're pushing bot lane. They come and play on the. They take the red buff. Red buff at this stage is actually like quite important. So you see teams back off to take red buff because you get it for 5 people. So suddenly it's very different. I'm only going to do about 30 minutes more. I didn't realize how late it was. We start our pre-scrim at 12:45 and I want to have like 5-10 minutes to sort out the streams in between and take a little bit of a break, grab some food. So I'll do a little bit more. Now, this is the thing. Before, as we've said, so here you'll look, they completely lose control of mid-wave, which if you're doing Dragon is a disaster because enemy could be hitting there and then still come to Dragon, but because Atakan's further away, ICE can't just stay pushing mid. So they drop mid-wave in terms of just losing the gold for it, but they don't drop mid-wave in terms of losing the tower, which they would do if it was a Dragon that they were playing for. This Herald is weird. I think this happens so much with Herald, by the way. Like, LEC Heralds, you just put them down like to hope, but you can force them to come back, and now Herald does push. And keeping in a situation to let your poke land is really important. So these kind of fights, these kind of teams, even with the Renekton, you want to one-shot the person who gets CC'd with the follow-up from all these people. But with these 3, you just want to play like as slow as possible. And this is the way that we get people to be really slow. Yeah, I just think this is only a useful pressure point because Fnatic are the ones that originally start Atakan and then completely lose control of mid. I think considering they have TP already, if they just hadn't lose full control of mid and put Humanoid in mid, then placing the Herald down like would be not that useful. So now Humanoid resets, but he's gonna... They just need the fight to start. So they need the fight to be the opposite of what BDS want. BDS want as slow as possible, and yeah, they just insta-fight it. Still going to be a flip for Atakan, so if you lose this flip, I think you lose the game. Because of the situation in mid lane. So like,
first I felt they got elbowed because I see the Smolder execute, and it's just a really good combination of the Rend plus the Vice Smite that doesn't allow 1-1-3 to try to get the steal. And as
You
see,
can't play
you
can't play 50-50 that with
all you
Kalista,
need
right?
is Rel to engage on someone. It wasn't even a crazy engage. He only got the Renekton, but just the fight needs to start. And Upset's also playing
So
brilliantly.
you need to play slow, but you can't play this slow. You can't play like for the 50-50. I mean, I guess you have Nidalee Q and you just say, right, it's 60-40 or something. But we needed to be a little bit more
You know, I was wrong. BS had a lead.
pressure
It
here.
was in the end 2 Drakes to 2. Forgot about the one in the mid lane.
Definitely used it though.
If you weren't here for Saturday, you made a cringy Drake joke. I'm just trying to support him also.
Now it's 3 Drakes.
now it's 3 Drakes.
And Irrelevant's angry.
Irrelevant, very frustrated, but this is not going to go well for him.
Now it's going to be really hard. Now you've been like outscaled. You need so much poke to land before it actually is going to really matter.
So how do they push this lead? That is the big question. So many teams, I won't say squandered, excuse me, Atacon, but a lot of teams have struggled to use it to its fullest. It is 30 seconds till Baron at the very least. How much can Fnatic get?
And I think the nice thing about Fnatic comp is that they can really easily start the Nash. I don't think they can really play for tier 2s unless they're willing to dive. But I would like to see them maybe just transition their pressure. Okay,
They should just dive. They have
probably they're just gonna be
Atakan.
willing
They
to
just
dive to- I wish I could upset doesn't want to. I mean, it's not even a counter. It's nothing.
you
I think
push
they
up through mid.
reset the
You
Nash.
want to
Really
just
the fight
dive where
is
upset is
they can
basically.
so easily turn from this Baron Nasher. They just need someone to get CC'd and the fight to actually start. And then it's going to be a clean wipe from them. On the other hand, it can be risky to start the Nash because if BDS then gets some poke, give them that combined with Nash damage, it can be kind of scary.
So if you like the fact that this mid tower is still up makes it much harder to control the rest of the map. So
OP when you have a Smolder and easier to play.
if this was dead, then you can push much deeper. You push like into this whole area. You can not only threaten side lane towers, you also have much more threat on something like Baron.
And normally,
But now,
think about it, you want them to do a ton. But when you're scaling better and you have an easier to play composition, you already got a lot of kills getting Atacon. You're fine with just getting waves out push and trying to play it that way, especially when you don't have Nash buff and you're playing against champions that have incredibly good wave play like the Jace.
yeah, you're not. You know, you can chill as
Got a bit of a pause. Not an actual pause, sorry.
as a Fnatic. You're not in a rush. You've got 2 crit items. This is the thing. Smolder, this build of Smolder was just as good in the previous patch. But just John's coaching the belt. Okay. Irrelevant looks kind of invisible. What is this like the you know the Key and Peele thing where there's someone standing behind him who says what he's trying to doesn't say, like Obama's anger translator. You can be in the chat being my anger translator when I'm like, this is a suboptimal play. Okay, so Atakan they didn't do anything really with, but it's okay because they're outscaling.
I don't know, sometimes just champ feels OP.
They're just going to keep resetting. They just ping waves back and forward because it's LEC. This is bad for BDS, but they don't seem to be able to do anything else. They just get as much gold as they can, and they try and poke for the next thing. Next dragon. Now it's time to do something again. So in these situations, this is where you can start to get the poke. And rapid fire is really good because Smolder can start to answer with some poke as well. I mean, no poke is landing. Good marking. Like, you want to just mark Irrelevant here. Like, you don't let him blank. Just in terms of... also, John... just in terms of, you mentioned BDS, like Irrelevant. I think as well, it's also how you play against it. But I do think it's much easier to play against it than play as it when you're talking about Renekton. So they get poke on Mickey, but poke doesn't land on any of the carries. But enough poke on Mickey is good, but he's still just going to force a fight, and then it can be a good situation. Razork's playing on the other side, so even though Fnatic are the ones that need to start a fight. So even though they're the ones on the objective, I keep doing this, like my hand's in the wrong place, so I do other things. On the objective, they can push up and try and play smiting that away, ulting on the back line because they want to force a fight. And so as they commit on one side, it just buys the space, so they run back round. So they peel back round, and every carry of BDS has to step back. Therefore, they get...
They still have to take so much time to enter, but it just feels really bad. It's so easy for Fnatic to turn with their engage that BDS is so slowed down that by the time they get to the objective, it's already gone, even when they actually get the conditions that they want, which is poking out Mickey and poking that engage out. And now it's Fnatic with first tempo into Nash. It's going to be the same process all over again with them having control of the turn Nasher.
BDS arriving. Midway in a relatively even state. BDS are just going to ignore it for now. Trying to get a bit of vision down.
Arson and Jace are very far. They might even look to just finish this with the Ren plus Smite combo.
1-1-3, can you steal this? It's not perfect. It should be. But it should be enough to just steal this.
Sorry, just replying to a message about scrims.
It's so easy for Fnatic to turn with their engage that BDS is so slowed down that by the time they get to the objective, it's already gone, even when they actually get the
Now they
are going to push up mid. They have a tempo advantage, so they can
get the control, they just rush it straight away. But this is different from the Vitality one we saw before, right? Where they just completely ignored the mid wave and just rushed it. So here, Oscar's pushing the mid wave, which means that they're not using, it takes them longer to get there. Like Oscar could just run and they could just forget this and just instantly be hitting it. But they probably have thought that they don't have enough time, and I tend to agree. And so they want to also set the fight up at the same time.
All over again with them having control of this round.
Considering you criticize EU teams for their play in between objectives, it'd be interesting to see and analyze the play of Asian teams between objectives. Yeah, sure. And it's not that like, it's mostly I'm criticizing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Like if you're Fnatic here, it's fine to just be like chilling. It's just boring. That's all. So it's not like it's just a horrible thing or it's like a really easy thing to do to counter. It's just boring. But yeah, I think so. What I plan to do is I'll do all the LEC games and then I'll do some other games. I want to do a bit of review every day. And so either in chat, probably more likely on Twitter, which you can now find by using the command !Twitter or !X. I'll do a poll of what game you want me to review in the other times. So there'll be 3 which are LEC, which should be the day after the LEC games because I can't do anything on the same day. And then I'll do 1 best of 5 or 1 or 2 best of 3s if it's LCK in the other days, and we can like compare them together. I actually love Hawaiian pizza, pineapple on pizza. I'm all for it. Okay, so they push mid and they take the thing which slows them down, the scuttle. But now this wave is being denied and they're more aggressive, and then the same as before. You can't really fight the Ren spike. And this is the thing, like, okay, Nidalee been useless since he was 3-0. So now they will die. It's very ambitious, I think, when you're in this situation to be trying this kind of picks. But on the other hand, if you're not going to do it in winter, when are you going to do it? Like 113 has the potential to be like super good aggressive jungler. It's very hard to play these comps. But like I say, you know, it could be you just say, right, Fnatic are higher up in the standings. This is the time to be more aggressive and add more variance into the games. I think that's probably a decent way to think about it. And now you're just out of. I mean, basically you're just out of juice. Might skip forward in this one. I'm assuming it's kind of done at this stage because I'm gonna go in like 20 minutes or something. So I'll see if I can get one more game in. Go in 20 minutes so I can have 5 minutes of break and resorting out the streams, and then we'll come back for pre-scrim with the team. Okay, somehow it's back to like 4K. So I guess the same thing still is true. If you land enough poke, then you win the fight anyway. But this is why Ocean Soul, like someone was asking about Ocean Soul, or like what's the best soul? Yeah, scrims directly after this. And this is where it's really hard to say because Ocean Soul in this game versus poke is super obnoxious. Mountain Soul would also be super obnoxious. Whereas also Cloud Soul would be insane for Fnatic, but not necessarily that good for BDS. Although you can just run away, I guess, when you want. So there's not that much poke landing because it's hard to land poke. Especially at this stage of the game where people aren't like one-shottable. This is a nice try on Humanoid. He's the one person who doesn't have cleanse. Like he's the one person without TP now as well, so you can force away. He's going forward to take a lot of damage here, and a really nice ult from Ice. Yeah. So this is now slow enough. Okay. This is now slow enough that like the fight could be good for them. And there's no ult for Humanoid, although of course there's no ult for Ice as well. So they're still looking for poke. They still want to play it slow, but now they're maybe getting to the point where they're strong enough. I just want to see where this Brawl ult comes. Maybe we'll just stick on this game, and then when it's done, it's done.
As you said, no TP. He might just try to heal off the wave and come back to the fight. Mickey X looking for the flank. Fnatic, 4 members, but they're getting chunked away. BDS shouldn't be allowed to take this, but the poke, the patience.
So much poke. This ult is bad from Varus. Like, he needs to hit Vi with this. If he's ulting here. Or he just needs to save it. The other one was insane, but this one hits... I mean, it just hits upset. Razork goes in, but this time they're so low.
While the objective is down, it's still so hard for BDS to chase, and they know it. They'll throw a few more spears, a few more.
I mean, if those last things hit, then they would actually be able to chase that down. I think.
This game was kind of over for BDS, but they're playing slow. They're playing calculated. They're hitting the crucial skill shots.
Why in EU NA Varus and Callisto? Callisto is prioritized like everywhere. It's just normally perma-banned in other places. So that's why we don't see it as much. At least it was. Don't know if things have changed. And Varus gets you a lot of push in mid because you have the poke. And it's a little bit easier to kind of play around. I think that's one of the reasons. Again, like these early picks that you take in competitive are often about actually lack of weaknesses, therefore ease of use. Like Azir, we talked about. He's good. He can work in a side lane. He's fairly safe. He has good wave clear. He's good late game in team fights. He can follow up on picks. Like he's kind of good at everything. He doesn't have that many big weaknesses, and so he's a really strong pick in competitive. And Varus is similar, although it is quite vulnerable to this dive.
BDS is making it happen. They are. This is a team that was not on the same page in so many of their previous losses. But now having to care about getting caught out, making aggressive, and Fnatic's still incredibly powerful.
I think the Braum ban would have been much better than... I can't remember what they did ban. Fnatic.
I feel so bad for BDS. If they get that pick, I think they can easily start the Nash as Fnatic lose their main source of engage with the Rel. But now it goes back to a stalemate where BDS have the control of the Nash, and they will try to look to poke down Fnatic when they try to enter. But Fnatic has good wards, so
BDS just one land poke. This is actually good though, because we rarely see these like 2 different comps played exactly to those plays. No, it's not necessarily that flexibility in ADC is priority. Although Varus does have the flex, like he can go on hit or he can go tanky. Like I say, it's weird when they've double banned for first pick Vi that you ban Ezreal, because I think you can also just go Ezreal when they go Vi. But Varus is just something that we super prioritize in the EU, it seems, in LEC. So BDS really needs to land poke. They really want the fight to play as slow as possible, and they need Fnatic to be low enough that they don't win the all-in, even though they have better all-in champs. So some poke is good. We've got heals, obviously, from Italy too. But how they play around mid lane is the same. So one's a poke comp, one's an engage comp. The one that's on the wave is the engage comp, and the one that's on the side is poking, because you can't... if you're standing here, you'll just get engaged on. So now Fnatic get push, and they push it really deep. This is the thing we've talked about, shouldering. You push with the wave, and you say, okay, look, you guys have to go another way. Like, you just go with the wave here. And therefore they get the tower. Mickey's still looking for engages. They're threatened because the poke eventually will land, but actually, to be honest, the poke's been pretty even so far. They need like one thing to land, or a good ult from Ice onto Humanoid, for example, who doesn't have cleanse. So in the end, they actually land enough poke themselves to find that the engage on Varus is okay. I mean, on Braum is okay. He loses his passive thing. Then they pop the Zonya's on 113. This, by the way, I was a bit harsh earlier, but this, by the way, is the best use of Nidalee that I've seen for a long time in EU. Like, you get fed, and then you have to play these poke comps. So this is good.
At the same time, Nuke has to play a little bit further back, can't frontline as much as before, and Upset as well has no flash to get out of those key moments now, but does have the GA, however. So I think his game plan can still be very aggressive. The biggest difference is that Fnatic lost their reliable engage with the Rel.
It won't matter. Ice, of course, still having his flash too, so that on top of spell shield makes things a little bit more difficult. The Humanoid has just been stacking this entire time, 428.
He's on a very long flank here.
So the big flank, because they're just trying to get any engage. BDS don't want to, like, they have to start Nash to force them to come towards this area. Irrelevant stacking his ult in the bush, so he's stacking his Fury. Then Irrelevant blocks Mickey, so they're both low. They just want poke to land. And it ends up just being 50-50. 50-50, but they get sold for it.
I'm worried about the Snash.
So because Mickey got low, I guess they're just giving up the fight, and they say, okay, fine, you play for steal, we go for soul instead.
And now you're getting Ocean Soul into a full poke team comp. This is, I think I'm really happy about Fnatic. I think BDS needs to end with this Nash or get 2 inhibs to really make this worth it, because this Ocean Soul has so much value against Fnatic.
So we'll see what they can get with it. Yeah, after this, I'll take a little break, like just 5 minutes before scrims.
Credit to BDS, playing these fights slow, and again, Taurus 1-1-3, probably the best game we've seen from this season. You could argue the Seraphine game against G2, but I think this is even better.
Yeah, I want to like really highlight BDS that they're playing a really difficult comp to pull off, and they're pulling it off, and in my opinion, the most aggressive, the best team that is like a snap engaging is Fnatic. So if you can pull off this team against them, that means you can pull it off against any other team that we see. So I really want to see, even if they lose this game, try to stick a little bit to the style and refine it, and we can have a good BDS.
Push your limits. Nuke TP line to support the wave here. Does get the Baron buff down, but this is where things start to get tricky, right? Because while
Okay, so I mean, nothing's changed about the game. BDS want to play flights as slow as possible, get as much poke down. Fnatic want the opposite. Although the soul makes things quite different, because it's just harder. It's the same thing, but it's harder. Like the moment where people are low enough. I'll talk about scrims properly after the little break. I want to start streams before scrims, before even pre-scrim, and then I'll answer crush opponents and drink their tears. Then I'll answer I'll talk about the scrims of the day each time.
They know they have to get something done. It's just so difficult.
Hey, Badass King. I will try and get YouTube and Twitch chat somehow in the same place at some point. So they can play so much with the siege. Oof. This almost wins them the game. Humanoid gets hit by Varus, but I guess they can't add anything else. So flash ult from Ice, not flashed by Humanoid, but the spear has already just been thrown. So there's no real reason to be like always talking about this kind of thing, right? But if you know that this flash ult is coming, Humanoid dies here. I'm pretty sure.
They have to be so careful about overcommitting here, though.
It's like we throw a spear as we flash ult. So if the spear comes here, he's dead. Humanoid is one shot. Mickey gets a really nice engage, so maybe you still lose the fight.
Healing still coming in. Ice gonna be caught out. He tried to make the hero play and he gets shut down. Desperation. It was patience for so much of the game. But Ice,
he sees the window. But this is the thing, right? Like, if you watch that like that, we will say, oh, Ice is inting, but I literally, my first thought is like, Humanoid should die here.
Poke like that to land on a member.
30 seconds. They have to be so careful about overcommitting here, though. The second the Baron falls away.
Because Humanoid dies on that Q, because he's already been hit by Nidalee. Maybe they just die anyway. Maybe they lose anyway. But it's not Ice who gets caught, it's these three who get caught. No, I think the flash ult timing is fine. I just think you need to know that it's coming. And like I say, you can't be talking about that kind of thing in a game at 42 minutes, really. Well, you can, but like it's not shock. It doesn't shock me that it's not. So, yeah, I mean, for me, I don't think this is like Ice's inting at all. I think Humanoid should die here. Why are 3 people getting caught by Rel? 3 people getting caught by Rel without her flash engaging? This is the problem. Because Humanoid would be dead, and we should have Braum with him. So Braum can protect this way. Then Humanoid's dead, and maybe Ice dies, but you use nothing pretty much to kill Humanoid, and they'll use everything to kill Ice. And now the Callisto ult hits 3 people again as well. I think we're all too close together. Yeah, we're actually going to talk about that today. Matt's going to talk about that. So, I mean, the fact that he doesn't have flash, like, but the thing is that Varus is kind of, he's thrown his ult, he's thrown his Q. Humanoid, if Humanoid is dead here, these people need to not be like all grouped together. I think we just got way too cocky, everyone else, because this was dead. Like these 3 playing in this tight little group, I think is really bad, and no one blocks the Mickey engage. Oh, he does flash. Okay, it just doesn't show.
They need another great poke like that to land on a member.
30 seconds.
But 3 people grouping up for a rel engage, that's the problem, not ICE. Like, this is it's irrelevant. If he doesn't flash, they still lose. 3 people get rel ulted. But this is the problem. Like, obviously it's not Dracos' fault at all, because you're literally casting him non-stop. But my point is, this is the danger of making your things from just the cast. Like, I don't think there's any reason to get, like, if you get 3-man rel engaged, you are going to lose this game. Yeah, either Braum has to stop rel, they need to not be grouping, or if Jace can stop rel, I don't know if you can actually when she just ult W's like that. But as rel is walking forward to 3 of you and you're all grouped up together, I don't think it's your AD carry's fault. Oh, we can look at it one more time. Let me see. I think they just all go too aggressive here. The flash ult should kill Humanoid. I think if it kills Humanoid as well, people already change how they think about the play.
They have to be so careful about overcommitting here, though. The second the Baron falls away, Fnatic.
So I'll mute it because I'm going to play it slow. As I say, this person I think should die because the Nidalee Spear should follow up and there's no one to block it. So Humanoid should die. This flash ult that catches, or it doesn't actually catch 3, I guess. It almost catches 3. But then they all pivot and go onto ice. Yeah, I guess the other thing is that you do kind of force that fight to happen because you're flash ulting. But for me, firstly, Humanoid should die and they also shouldn't be so caught. So even though they don't kill Mickey or anything, look at the damage that these 3 people do. Both solo lanes and yeah, it's always the jungler's fault. Exactly. WTF team, no spear. Both solo lanes, because of Mickey's engages, do nothing in this team fight. So even though the engage didn't kill them or anything like that, they just did nothing. And Braum, I don't know where it went. But that's why Mickey's going, because he sees like a group. Even your Q gets blocked. You don't even do anything. Then they all have to back away and leave ice because they've used all their like tools. Then they get knocked up again. Again, 3 people get knocked up again. Irrelevant gets 1 rotation of spells off and dies. Nuke misses his EQ. So I don't think Nuke has done like 100 damage in this fight. Gets stunned, gets killed. So yeah, any fight is almost definitely going to be good for Fnatic. But from my point of view, like, it's interesting to... Oh, Braum saved ult for next game, or... No, I couldn't. Okay, right at the end. Yeah, that's my point. I think that's the thing that's worth thinking about. If Rel didn't catch 3 people, if the spear had followed up, then Ice is a hero. Interesting game, though. And 2 very different styles of composition. I can't remember, where was the like big swing points? Oh, there was a couple where they played on top side instead. They should have just played hard on bot. And then with the Atacan as well, they tried to 50-50 Atacan versus Callista. I think that's always really, really hard. And they needed to just get a bit more poke down. But their poke got better later, where ironically it's worse. But they got better at it. Okay, so I'm going to go for like 5-10 minutes up until 12:40. And I will play some music and all that, but I will turn off the YouTube stream and turn it back on so that the VODs are separate, and we'll go into scrims. I can answer some questions about scrims, and at 45, the team should be jumping on. So I will see you guys in a bit.